Hi everybody, Ed Diaz here. So I just played a gig this past weekend and I posted my rig, which you can see right here. And I love using a 3 keyboard setup, but I've gotten a couple of questions, and on this video I wanted to address one of the questions, which was how do you choose which keyboard size to get? And the 3 sizes most commonly being 61, 76, or 88. And I tend to lean toward a 76 note keyboard, and here's the reasons why I do that. Well, before we even get into that, let's talk about generally what are the differences between a 61, a 76, and an 88. Generally speaking, when we talk about the keyboard sizes, there is no difference generally between the actual sound engine. So they all have the same ins and outs as far as like sounds and everything. It's just how many keys and how the keys feel. So in the 61 note and the 76 note keyboards, they tend to have what is called a synth action, and that's like a lighter action. It's a faster action, and I tend to like those because they are fast to the touch, or if you're doing a lot of lead playing, a lot of synth kind of playing, some strings, stuff where you got to play faster, that can be really cool. Now the next one is the 88 keys. So the 88 keys generally have a very realistic piano feel. So what that means is they're a heavier weight in the keys. So when you play piano, you can actually feel the pushback of the keys on the piano. And so that's something that's really nice. I like using that when I'm doing a lot of piano or electric piano. And there's something about it when you play it, it makes your brain, it feels right, because when you play an electric piano or an acoustic piano, it's not a light touch, it's a heavier touch. And so when you use the 88 keyboards, it's more like that experience, is that playing experience. And so your brain, or at least my brain, always, to me, the piano or the electric piano sounds better, which really it has nothing to do with it. It's just something in my brain that says, hey, this feels right. That's why I would choose the 88s. So here it is. We know that all the keyboards, no matter what, if they're 61, 76, or 88 key, all the same engine. And we talked just real quick and briefly about how they feel, as far as the 61 and 76 are going to feel the same or very similar, and then the 88 is going to feel like a piano. But here's another reason. The 61 would be usually the lightest of the group. 76 would probably be very close but a little bit heavier, and then the 88 would be the heaviest. Okay, and now I'm talking about actual overall weight. And that's something, if you're out there doing gigs and you're having to move your keyboard a lot, that is something that will definitely come into the picture, because it's one thing you have to think, if I have to move this instrument, this keyboard a lot, I'm going to have to move it out of my studio or my home rehearsal space. I'm going to have to move it out of there into the vehicle, and then out of my vehicle into the gig wherever I'm performing. And then when I'm done performing, I have to move it from the gig back into the vehicle, and then out of my vehicle back into the house. So we're looking at like at least 4 times a minimum where I have to pick this thing up and move it. And then if you're gigging, you're gonna want to get a case. And so then you gotta go ahead and add the weight of the case for the keyboard in that equation. And so they can get real heavy real quick. So you really have to think about, do I want to carry a big heavy keyboard, or do I want a lighter one? So that's something you definitely want to think about, is the weight. How much does it weigh? Another aspect you have to think about is the price. What's the price difference between a 61 and a 76 and a 76 and an 88? Or what's the price difference between a 61 to an 88? So depending on your budget or what you want to spend, that can also determine what size keyboard that you get. It's all personal. Now myself, I tend to lean toward the 76 note keyboards. I like the 76 note keyboards because I get a lot of keys. Basically, I get a lot of keys in there. So if you're playing, I don't have to do octave shift, and that's where you shift the octaves back and forth so I can play the lower notes, and it has more keys to choose from when you're playing. Whereas the 61, when I play on a 61, I have to adjust octaves because it doesn't have those lower notes that I like to hit sometimes. So the 76 for me just feels right. And so if I can play a 76, that'll be the one that I'll use for gigging, for going out and making money, to go play shows, because To me, it's the best of all the worlds. It's a little more expensive than the 61, but it's definitely not as expensive as the 88. So for me, the 76 just fits in there. And then for the playing wise, I don't have to really compromise my playing. I can just play. And if I need to do an extreme low note or extreme high note, which the 88 would cover, then I can go in and program the keyboard in octave shift. But it's really rarely comes up, if ever. It just really doesn't. So for me, gigging wise, the 76 fits. But like I said before, earlier in the video, for you, you have to think about your playing position, what your playing needs are, what type of sounds am I going to use, because if I'm doing a lot of synth sounds, maybe an 88 might not be what I want. But if I'm playing a lot of piano-oriented sounds, or it's a piano gig, maybe an 88 is what I want. So, and not maybe a 61 or a 76. So it all boils down to what you like. Okay, so just think about budget. What can you afford? What are you willing to spend? The weight, because you're gonna have to pick this thing up. And a lot of times if you're out there gigging in nightclubs, or your gig will be over at midnight, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning. By the time you break down, put it in the car, and then you get home, it might be 2, 3, or 4 o'clock in the morning, and you gotta bring it in the house, and with the weight of the case. So you gotta take all those things into account in there. But ultimately, if your budget can do it and you can afford it, get the one that makes you the happiest. And for your playing position, it's all up to you. My personal preference is I like a 76 note, but there are times when I will take out an 88, and it just varies, you know, depending on what kind of gigs. But anyway, that's my thought on which one to buy. Ultimately, it's up to you, but just think about your price, what your budget is, how much does it weigh, because you're going to have to lift it a lot, but ultimately, how does it make you feel? Or do you feel like you play better depending on how the key action feels, but then also how many notes you have to play with? So I hope that helps you out a little bit. This is just my little 2 cents in there, because I did get this question and I wanted to answer it soon. But anyway, make sure you like and subscribe, hit the notification for this channel, and I'm going to have a lot more videos coming to you very soon. All right, you guys take care. We'll talk to you later. See ya.